Hello and welcome to 18th chapter in our comprehensive course on AI, ML and DS. Now here we want to talk about file input and output in Python. Now in previous 17 chapters we have done a lot of things about data science. For example, if I just open any one recent chapter, maybe the 17th only, then in that this whole data science life cycle is pasted, right? And we have done these stages up to this data visualization, okay, and a little bit of feature engineering, but we will do more about this. Then this part is still left, this part, a little bit of dashboard and reporting, that also we have done. But the question is, you can do all these things, exploratory data analysis and data visualization and plot the histogram and box plot and scatter plot and line plot and reg plot, that is regression plot, and so many other things, strip plot and swarm plot and so many other things we have learned. But the question is, if you are unable to load the data in your Jupyter notebook or in PyCharm or in VS Code, whatever environment you are using, then what will happen? Obviously, in that case, no analysis would be possible. Now, it may look strange, but there are so many different data formats, and Python is capable of handling all these formats. But at least, even in the age of these AI tools, you should know one thing, that what is possible. Because if you know that this is possible, then you will be able to ask to ChatGPT or other AI code assistant. But if you have never seen in your life that, okay, this type of data format is there and it is handled this way by Python, so then in that case, how will you ask the question to the AI code assistant? So with that much background, let us start this. So what is the objective of the chapter? To equip the students with all the skills which are necessary to handle various file formats, emphasizing practical application and the best practices for dealing with large data sets. Now, so far we have not loaded any really large data set. When I say large, it is around, say, 2 million rows or just a single data set of 50 MB, like that kind of data set I'm talking about. Okay, so we have not loaded that kind of data set so far, but in this chapter we will be dealing with that. So this is the outline of the chapter. First is introduction to file handling, importance of file handling in data science, overview of various file formats which are used in data science, CSV, Excel, JSON, binary file, and there are many more which we are going to see. For example, Parquet and that kind of format. Then reading and writing the text files. What are the best practices? Working with CSV file. Here we will introduce a new module, CSV module. So that means, as such, we know that we can read a CSV file using pd.read_CSV, and we can write to a CSV file using pd.to_CSV. Okay, but this CSV module will create two objects, CSV reader object and CSV writer object, and these two objects are also one way of dealing with CSV file. Handling different delimiters, code characters, handling Excel files. Why Excel files are important? Now, I don't think we need to explain this, because Excel is a very popular spreadsheet format, and large proportion of world's data is in Excel spreadsheets. Okay, so we will learn how to read using pandas, using read_Excel and to_Excel, and we will also learn some limitations and considerations of Excel format. For example, this is a very well-known limitation, that Excel has some limits on the number of rows which can be possible in a spreadsheet. Of course, as more and more advanced versions of Excel are coming up, that they are increasing that number of rows limit. But still, if that 200 or 2 million rows data set, if you try to load by Excel, then it cannot be loaded itself. The file will not open itself. It will open, but it will show you that this is only partial or a small portion of the entire data set and all that. Warnings. Okay, JSON. Now this JSON is one of the most important format for anyone who is dealing anything with internet-based data applications. And most of the real-life applications would be internet-based, because your end users can be located in any part of the world, and you want to deploy to any part of the world, right? Deploy on internet so that they can use it from any part of the world. So then, reading and writing JSON files. We will see what is JSON file, and understanding complex JSON structures. JSON looks like almost nested dictionary. So how to navigate through the JSON dictionary, JSON file, that also we will see. Then binary file and serialization. Now that is important because of this reason. That for example, I am again opening the old chapter. Here, this model creation, training, validation. Suppose you have finished this stage. We have not yet learned it, but you have created a very nice predictive model, and now you have stored it. You want to store it in your on your laptop or on your PC, and then you want to deploy the app to the cloud. So at that time, that model file you have to upload to your cloud, right? Now that model file is normally in the form of format called pickle, pickle. Pickle module is required, and the format has extension .pkl, just like .json or just like .docx for Microsoft Word or .xlsx for Microsoft Excel spreadsheet. Similarly, this is .pkl. So that is a binary file actually. So your entire model has been converted into a binary form, and that form is called pickle. So the process of converting your model into binary form, that is called serialization. So a serialized model is saved on your PC, and a serialized model only is uploaded to the cloud. Okay, and there, whenever that model is actually used for the prediction, first that model is loaded into the environment wherever that app, whatever web app you have designed, that is executing for prediction. Then you have to deserialize your model. That means you have to convert from pickle to a usable format once again, and at that time, so that means what, that you should be able to handle binary files. You should be able to read binary file and write binary file. Now at that time, for reading binary file, we have to, when we open the file, we use this mode RB. So RB stands for read binary, and whenever we are writing to a binary file, then at that time we use this mode WB, that means write binary. Okay, then introduction to serialization with pickle and advantages and when to use this kind of serialization. Then pickle is actually a module or a library, just like pandas is a library, numpy is a library. So you have to do pip install pickle if it is not installed in your environment, and then you can create that pkl file of your prediction model. You can also do the same thing using another library which is called joblib, joblib, but both ultimately will generate pickle format only, that is .pkl format, right? Now handling large data sets. Now for large data sets, there are some big issues, and I will actually demonstrate those issues here. So there are some big issues, and due to your device memory limitations, sometimes your Jupyter will crash, or Excel will crash, or it will not be able to load large data files. So at that time, what we do is we divide the whole data file into small chunks. So if it is, let's say, 2 million data, 2 million rows are there, records are there, then we will first display maybe 1,000 records or 5,000 records, depending upon how much is the capacity of my hardware, and then we will continue with next 5,000 records, next 5,000 records, and so on. So how to display the file, read the file in chunks, and how to display it in your Jupyter or whatever IDE you are using in chunks, that is important skill to master. Okay, and in general also, file processing often creates some issues. For example, many times people forget to close the file once everything is done in your environment. So at that time, what happens is the file remains dangling, and if 10 such file remains dangling, they will unnecessarily go on occupying a lot of memory, and you are not doing anything with them. You have already moved ahead to the next file. So properly opening the file, properly closing the file, all those things are important. So these are 7 topics, or you can say 7 subtopics of this chapter. Now we start with the first, introduction to the file handling. File handling is critical skill because it allows to save and retrieve data to and from the file. You need both skills. As I said, you can do all this exploratory data analysis and all this, provided in first place you can read the data from file and load it in your Jupyter notebook. And similarly, once you have done some feature engineering and all those things, you have maybe apply logarithmic transformation to remove the skew, and you have done non-imputation, you removed outliers, you did deduplication, all those things you did, but you should be able to save your file in your working directory. So that is important skill. Okay, file handling includes both reading from the file and writing to the file. Now let us start with simple example, that is a text file. Okay, now I think this is not required, old chapter, so I am closing it. Now reading and writing a text file. So here, and this syntax will remain the same for all. Only thing is that the name of the file and the type extension will keep on changing, but this syntax will remain same, that with open. So we write it like this, and remember there is nothing imported so far in this Jupyter. So this with open is the default facility which is provided for file handling in Python itself. So I did not need to import pandas or numpy or any other library for this. So with open, then example.txt in the read mode else file. Now this else file is just a alias. I can write anything as x, as y, okay, anything. So first this file must be present in my working directory. Otherwise, of course, it will throw the error that no such file. But here I can see that example.txt file is there in my working directory. Okay. So it is a simple text file in which some text message is there. So with open, the name of the file and the mode. Mode is important because I just want to read my file. I don't want to accidentally modify my file. So if you by mistake write W here, then there is every chance that this kind of file, just one or two wrong key presses, and here somewhere at the end of the file, if you see, then some new letters are getting added. Okay, so if you open in the read mode, then that possibility of corrupting your file or modifying your file accidentally, that is removed. But this is just a file opened as file. Still nothing will be displayed in you. So you have to read that file. Okay. Now instead of this file here, if I have written x, then I should write x.read, correct? And I should store the content of result provided by x.read in a variable called content, and then I will print that content. Let me at present keep it file only, but later on I will show you that you can give any name here. Okay. This name should be of a file which is existing, but as this is just an alias, so you can give any alias. Okay. So if I open my file, then I can see that this is the text file. Don't bother about what is written. It is just gibberish, that QOD, quidem, non, lorem ipsum, etc., etc. Okay. So those who have done web designing, they know this lorem ipsum comes practically everywhere whenever you want to provide your end user that now I have designed your website. Instead of this lorem ipsum, you just fill whatever you want to fill. Okay. So this is one thing about reading the file. So what you will remember is name of the file, and the mode should be read mode, and else file that you will open, and with open also ends with a colon. So therefore when you go to the next line, that means what I'm saying is this content, then it is automatically indented. Just like a function definition, def is always ends with a colon, or a if statement also always ends with a colon, or else also always ends with a colon. A class definition ends with a colon. Similarly, this with open also ends with a colon. So indentation is required, which it will automatically adjust and store the content in a variable. Here this name also you can give anything. Instead of content I can give output, or in the file data, or whatever name I want to give. Then here I have to write that thing, output or file data. Okay, let us see. Instead of this file I write x. Does it make any difference? Then no. I will see that x.read, and still I am storing in same content variable, so it will print the same thing. Okay, so this is alias only. Instead of content also I write say data, and here I write print data. So in that case also it will print the same thing. So these are my names, and I have freedom to give any name. Okay, and if you have to program a lot, then many programmers give very small names like this. They do not write file also. They just write x or something. So you should understand that any name is allowed. It is just an alias. Okay, let me make everything as it was, just for the sake of consistency. Fine. Now this is the first text file reading. I am clearing the output. Now writing to a text file. So here we again use with open, and the name of the file to which I want to write. Now there is no need that that file must be present. In fact, you see here output.txt, there is no such file, right? So that will be created because I am writing in W mode, that is write mode. Again, as file, instead of that you can write anything. And here you write file.read and restore the data. Here you write file.write, and whatever content you want to write. You can write 1,000 words or million words or whatever, howsoever large text file you want to create. You can write entire novel between the two quotation marks. Okay, so then that will be written. Now here I execute this, and you will see that here output.txt will be created. Here you can see that it is created. If I open its content, then this will be its content. Hello, this is a test. Hello, this is a test. Correct? Okay. So these two things I have done. Now working with CSV file. So now I want to handle CSV file, but not with pd.read_CSV. I want to use built-in features. So far I have not imported any library, pandas or numpy. You should understand that. I am doing built-in features which are provided with Python. Okay. So let us see. This data.csv again must be present. That is required. So let me check data.csv. So yes, I have data.csv, and if I open it, then it is this kind of file. That first name, last name, and SSN, social security number of some records are there. Okay. Now how to open? Then import CSV. So this CSV is a module which is provided built-in. I don't need to do pip install CSV. It is by default available. Then with open data.csv in the read mode. Again, I don't want to corrupt my file. I just want to view my file. That's all. So in the read mode, as file, and create a CSV reader object. So CSV reader is equal to CSV reader in parenthesis file. Now here if I have written X, then CSV reader in parenthesis X. So this is CSV underscore reader isn't just a variable, but this is the CSV dot reader object is being created. Okay, and that is stored in this CSV underscore reader. And then we are reading the file row wise. This is also important. So we are using for loop. So that is, it will first read this row, that is chain, Colby, etc. Then it will read this row, Cobb, Black. Then it will read this row. Of course, the whole process occurs very, very fast. So therefore, you will see almost instantly. But actually, it reads one by one row. Okay, and of course, it reads the header row also. So first name, last name, SSN. How do you know that it has read one by one? That is clear. That it is showing the output not as some table or something like this, but it is showing output in the form of a list. So every element in the first row, that is header row, fname, lname, and ssn, they are the three elements of this list, comma separated list. Then Chen, Colby, and this, they are the three elements of next list. So that itself clearly shows that first this list was read, then this list was read, then this list was read. Okay, so it is reading row wise. Now this is very handy because instead of this, think about a file with maybe 25,000 rows. Okay, so at that time, separating each row and that also getting them in the form of list is very handy. Whenever we do NLP, natural language processing, that large text file or a large CSV file or whatever is given to us, then we need to break it into tokens. So at that time you can do this kind of thing. This each word or each entry, that is called a token. Okay, you can, if you carefully see, then the first one does not have any preceding white space, but the second one has white space, and the third one also has preceding white space in each row. So I can even just concatenate there, and I will get the whole row in the form of a sentence, that is Ken Colby 475059069. Okay, so entire record will be available to me. Okay, now then writing to a CSV file. Now suppose I take the same file, data.csv, but here I want to add one new entry. Okay, so first name I will require, last name I will require, and SSN I will require. Index, it will be handled automatically. So I again import CSV and I write the file path which I want to modify. So it is data.csv. Then I write what data I want to add in the new row. So as I said, I need three parameters: first name, last name, and social security number. So then I am writing, say, my name only, Tejas Desai. You can see that I have left some space here. That is important just to maintain proper consistency. Otherwise, you will not get right format. And here also some space is left. Okay, so I create the row in the form of a list, just like the output which I got by read underscore CSV. So I am creating exactly that kind of input for the new row. And then again, open your file. So with open file path, or that means with open data.csv, mode is equal to R, new line is equal to this as file, and first read the file. Remember, I have still opened it in read mode, so I cannot add anything to that. It is in read mode, but I am reading the file, and data I am writing in the form of list. So everything is read and it is stored in this reader, and then what I call the data is the list. Okay, let me add one sentence just to print that data, what is exactly that data, and the rest of the lines I am taking to new cell. Okay, so because then it will become more clear. Then in that case, let us first, so I am so far not adding my new row. Okay, that you should understand, because this file is being opened in read mode, so it will not open the new row. It will just display what is already the content of the file. So currently these 12 rows are there, so it will display them. So you can see that it is displaying. But can you see one important difference between earlier display when you read the file using the for loop? So at that time, each list was different. Okay, like this. So one row was read at a time, while here entire data is read at a time, and that is everything is stored in a single list, this outer list, which contains several nested lists. This is one list, so each row is inside the bigger list as another smaller list. I think you are understanding. So this is the bigger list, starts here and ends here, and inside each row is there as a smaller list, correct? So this is the situation. Now I will append a new row. So what is my new row? I have already created new row, and this is my new row. Okay, I should take care of that space, and I will get the idea if I display my data first and then create new row. So this line, that data to be added, can be even taken afterwards also. It will, because here we are just In this part, we are just reading our data. Okay. And I will get the idea that I have to provide one space in the second and third entry. So I am adding my name, first name, last name, and my social security number, suppose. And I will write data.append, because this is append is the standard method for adding anything to the list. And this whole data is at present in the form of a list only. So append new row. So new row is also a list. So what will happen here at the end? A comma will be added and one new list like this, but with these values, that will be added at the end. And then now open the, but it is added in the raw data. It is not added in my file. It is added because what I have done, I read the content of the file, stored it in the reader, then converted the content into a list and stored that variable into the data, and I have displayed that data here. So that data is not the useful format like CSV. So I have to modify that data. So I'm modifying the data because my data is nothing but a big list containing several lists. So I'm adding one entry to as a list. I'm appending that new list in my nested list, but still it is this format. It is not CSV format. So now you have to open the old file data.csv in the write mode. So with open, again the file path means instead of file path, you write the name of the file. But why file path is separately written? Because here we are taking things very simply, that the file which I am reading or the file to which I am writing, they are present in the same working directory as this Jupyter Notebook script which is executing. But it may be present in say C, users, eq. So at that time, instead of this file path, you will have to clearly specify C colon backslash users e cube, and then you may provide something like and of course if it is Linux, then the backspace would be converted into a forward slash. Okay, and then you store somewhere data.csv. So this is called a fully qualified path name, or absolute path name. But here my case is simple, that my data is in the same directory as this Jupyter script which is executing. So therefore I can just write the name of the file. This is called relative path name. Okay, so I am writing file. That is the reason of storing it separately, because if this is very long path name, then it will make this line very ugly in look. So if file path is stored separately, then I can use the same file path here again. So with open file path, that means data.csv. But now in write mode, first new line equals to blank as file, and then create a writer object. Just like here we created a reader object, this here we are creating a writer object, csv.writer, and in parenthesis that file. Now here if you have written instead of as x, then here also you will write x, because that is just an alias. So create a writer object and store the value in this writer. So currently writer will hold which values? It will hold all old values. But now writer.write rows. So in that I am writing writer.write rows and the data, and it will write this entire data, plus in that data I have appended my new row, so it will also write this row. Okay, now this is the reason why read write operations in a computer are always very resource intensive. If you want to write a new line to the file, then the process is not just straightforward that open the file and attach the new line. No, not like that, because if that would be the case, very little memory, RAM, etc. would be required. But instead what happens, first entire file is loaded in the memory for reading, during reading, then new row is appended to that entire file in the raw data format, and then entire file is written back. So actually my file had already this much value were already present, but they are again written back. On that many rows will be, that means these rows will be overwritten by the same values, and that new row only will be appended. So I hope you understand that why file operations are resource intensive, and why handling large files, maybe 2 million rows or like that, is a difficult thing, right? Because you should understand that all 2 million rows which should be first loaded, then whenever you are writing, you are adding just one row, but that 2 million old rows will also be rewritten, and then that one row which you are adding, that one row will be added at the bottom of your data set. Okay, so if I print, I am getting row added successfully. Let me check by refreshing, or that is closing this file and again opening this file, and you can see that here my name, Tejas Desai, and that my social security number, they are added. But such a simple example was taken just to understand the underlying complexity. Okay, so you read the data, create a reader object, read the data in the list form and store it in some list variable, then take that list variable and append the new record in that list variable, and then open original file, create a writer object, and write the entire modified data, old rows as well as these new rows, back to the original file. This is how a file is updated in a computer. Okay, this is the breakdown which I have explained what happens. Now, sometimes the file which we want to read is even more complex. For example, here the very first row is the header row and then record starts from here. But every time it may not be so simple. For example, suppose there is an Excel file like this, Excel sample data, okay, and I want to read this. I already have one such file. Its name is, I think, project management something. So let me show you. PRO. Okay, so this is that Excel file. So yeah, it is Excel, so I cannot open it using Jupyter, but I am opening with my mm, Excel Office 365. So where is that file? I'll Let me bring it. This is that directory. Here that file is there somewhere. So project, yes, this is. So project management sample data. And if I bring it to your focus, this is that file. Now the problem with this file can be seen here only, that header row is not the very first row. It starts from the sixth row. Then here some this kind of decoration is done, and this is not only decoration, because it is possible that that company has several different departments. So here I have written Excel sample data, but instead of that, it can be the department name. Then it is possible that the company is working for last 30 years. So at the header, at the top of the file, the boss might have ordered that every file must have department name and the year name. So here, some instead of project management data, it might be project management data year 2021, that is 2020 to 2021. So there can be useful information provided, but I now want to modify, suppose, this file. For that, I will have to first load this file. So at that time, what I will do, as such, in initial chapters, I have done, we have done that thing, that how to load Excel file. You can load Excel file using this read underscore Excel. Okay, and for that you of course need to install one external library also, but we have already installed that in that second chapter or third chapter. So that is why, otherwise it will throw error that there is no this kind of read underscore Excel command available, and it can please install this library. So you will be able to install the library. But here, this kind of file is there, right? So now I try to read it just by simply read underscore Excel. I get this kind of output. Let me minimize that slightly, still slightly. So I get this kind of output. What is the problem? The problems are clear from the file itself. The maker of the file left one column blank. Okay, so in my pandas, that is coming out to be entire column as a none. Then maker of the file took several rows as the additional header row before the actual column headers come. So that is another problem. So here none comes, and then Excel sample data is coming as a record, but actually that is not a record. That is just the title of the file. Then project management data, that is also coming as a record, but that is not a record, and everything is in short confusing. Okay, so what to do for that? So for that, I use this read underscore Excel only, but here after a comma, I will specify header is equal to the number header rows. How many header rows are there? So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, from the sixth actual column header start. So I will better try to read it in this manner. I am clearing this output because I need the space. So header is equal to 5. So I have at least solved some problems. It appears that if I print, okay, now at least you can see that project name, task name, assigned to, and progress. These were my columns, project name, column headers, right? So they are at least visible. So some progress is made, but still that issue is not resolved. That the first column is blank and Pandas is reading it as a non-value. Okay. So for that, you have to even choose columns, and there is a command with read underscore Excel. Just like header is a command, there is a command read use calls, that is use columns, and you have to note which columns are to be used. So B, C, D, and E. That means you don't want to include a column while reading. So you will write that as B colon E. Okay, and this is a labeled column headers are specified. So therefore B colon E will not exclude E. Normally, when I say 1 colon 0 colon 3, then I have always spoken that way. That means 0, 1, 2. 0 colon 3 means from 0 to 3, but not including 3. But here these are labeled columns, so I will not say this, that from B to E, not including E. No, I will not speak that way. In fact, from B to E, including E, or that means E column will not be excluded. Okay, so let us try to print, and you will get now proper data. So this is how complexly formatted. And Excel is very good at providing this kind of formatting. If I want to do this kind of formatting with different backgrounds and change of font color for the header row and all, then I will have to write a lot of code in Pandas. So wherever which tool is useful, there we use. We are not against this tool or that tool. Okay. So we will open our file in Excel. CSV file can be opened in Excel. We will modify. We will add all this formatting, dark background and light blue background and bold letters and centered and merge. These five B, C, D, E columns are merged. Here also they are merged. Everything we will do in Excel. But then when we try to read it, you should not get this kind of output. So you should get proper output, and for which you should remember that there are some such options available. Read underscore Excel has these options. That is header equals 5 and use calls equal to this. Again, you should not try to think that there is a need to remember them, because I have shown you that pd dot read underscore Excel and put a question mark and write. I think yeah, it will be below, because I'm importing my pandas here, no? So still it is showing read underscore Excel. Okay, and you get the entire function signature of this read underscore Excel. All the options which are available with it. For example, that header which I have used. So somewhere here header will be there. Then for example here options are skip footer, then date parser, then skip rows. You can, instead of header equals to 5, you could have written skip rows also. Skip rows equal to 5. But header also must be there because it works just now. Yeah, here very first it is header. Okay, so when you write header is equal to 5, pandas will ignore that many rows from the beginning. And use calls also must be there somewhere. Yes, here it is use call. And instead of use call, you can either specify integer, string, sequence. Sequence means this kind of thing. This is a sequence. Okay, like this. So you can specify anything, whatever you want. So a doc string is always available. Maybe some examples also they might have given a very detailed documentation, and yes, there are many examples given. So absolutely no issue. So there is no need to remember things. You should just know how to access the help. Okay, it is a different thing that after few usages you will automatically remember. That's a different thing. But okay, so this I have already written. Yes, now I want to write to this file. I have read the file correctly, and this is my that file, project management sample. This file, you can see that at present it is in this format. Now I want to write to this file, Excel file. So what I will do, okay, so for that, at present the last row is research. In the project name, task name is find generic alternative, and assigned to Dr. Rajesh, and progress is 0.35. But now I want to write some other name. Say the task name, sorry, project name is marketing event. Task is find new marketing channels. Okay, assigned to, now that was research, so PhD level person is required, but here this is a marketing thing, so an MBA will be good. So assigned to maybe Miss whatever, Sakshi. Okay, and progress in that is say 65%. So I have added a new row, and remember the format this time is not nested list or list of lists, but it is a list inside which there is a nested dictionary. Now if you want to add record to the Excel, then you will have to use the dictionary format, because at present I have read my data as a pandas data frame. And if you remember right from the beginning how we used to create the data frame, by a dictionary where the keys should be equal to the column headers and the value should be equal to whatever you want to write. So keys are these column headers and the values are what you want to include in the newly added row. Okay, so I have added this thing. Now append the new row to the data frame. Still it is not written to the actually the CSV file or Excel file. It is just appended to this data frame which is loaded in my Jupyter environment. Okay, so I am appending that, and thereafter, oh, whole everything is actually I should have put this much separately. Here what has happened is everything is done, and therefore the new, if I open that Excel file, then writing is also, if I reload it, maybe that the new record must have been written also. Let me open, and no, the new record is still not added. Okay, so that means, anyway, first I'm coming to the, I am writing only this much, and next lines of code I am taking to the other cell. Okay, so I just want to show that the new at least is added here, marketing event, and in the data frame it is added. Now this is in my data frame, but it is still not in my CSV or Excel file. So if I show Excel file, then it is still not visible in my Excel file. Last row is still research and it is assigned to Dr. Rajesh. Okay, so I will have to do something about that. So this try catch block is something which we have not done, but I'm directly coming to this line of code. Initially, forget about that try catch. So df dot to xl. So I have my data frame which is modified here successfully. Now I have to write that data frame to my Excel file. So I am writing df dot to underscore xl project management. Yeah, I think the name was different. Perhaps that is the problem. Oh, yes, it is project management sample data clean dot xlsx. So I have created another file in which clean means all that header rows and all that formatting, etc., is removed. And in that, I am now writing my modified data frame. So this is my modified data frame. So that is being written to this Excel file. So this Excel file is different than the Excel file which was opened. You have to understand. This was the Excel file which was opened. I could have written to that same file also, but here I wanted to keep the same file intact so that in my next lectures I can use it. That's why. So I am using another file name. I have just added one word, clean xlsx, and then print data written successfully. Okay, so if I write that, then data is written successfully, and I should show you by opening this clean data frame, not this original data frame, because original I am keeping intact. So that clean data frame is project management clean. Yes, it is this. So if you open, you can see that new record has been successfully added. Not only that, but all that initial header rows and all that, that is now removed, and it is a simple Excel sheet. The reason of doing that is that I don't usually want to add just one record. I may want to add several, maybe hundreds of that record. So every time I don't want to do all those initial steps, that header is equal to 5 and take columns equal to B to E only, or I just want this modified Excel file to be saved. Okay, fine. In next lecture, we will be doing about this JSON data handling. This became slightly long, but it was required to do it that way because of continuity. Text file and Excel file, that much should be handled together and in one lecture. While this JSON and other big data files, that will be handled in next subsequent lectures. Thank you and see you in next lecture.